He starts out by saying, "May the eye of the Vestal Virgin Pallas Athena be upon you always. For it is the age of Christ's truth, and those who have my truth have universal life everywhere present in God. Those who live for truth, those whose auras bespeak the cosmic honor flame as a strength, as a pillar of fire, these move in the earth in the correctness of the holy Christ flame. These know that as above, so below. The mirroring of the great God Self within the soul must be accomplished. We have to mirror the great God Self. We have to become that Christ, that God Self. He says, such as these are not otherworldly, but know that daily deeds and thoughts and acts and words are the building blocks of the etheric reality. And therefore they are not satisfied with mere ideation, with mere contemplation. And this is one of the big problems in the West. We are so intellectual. Everything is intellectual. But when it comes to feeling, we don't work too much with that. We work more with the intellect. And this is the problem. He said their satisfaction must be the laying of the stone, even the white cube of the city four square, which is the light of the heart. Lives must be lived here and now, truly in the geometry of God. There is that scripture, or at least the Greeks put it on above the door of the temples, as a man thinketh, so is he. How you think, how you feel has to be one. Not just the thinking part, but it has to be lived, has to be in the emotion, the feeling part of you. He said, let us chisel anew the profile of your Christhood this night. In other words, let us really bring it into that reality now, the new birth in Christ, the new sense of that Christhood as he gives it to us. As Kuthumi and I come, he says, in the office of the world teachers, so we bear the Alpha, the Omega of the life stream of Maitreya. Therefore, thou cosmic Christ, and Maitreya is the cosmic Christ. He is that Christ of the cosmos. We then work with that. Therefore thou Christ, thou cosmic Christ, we thy sons come bearing gifts of thy illumination flame, to these thine own who gather and tarry to lay the chief cornerstone of the will of God, that upon it and out from it there might spring forth illumination's golden flame, as the spark that crosses the night sky and illumines a plain and a planet. We come also out of the east unto the west, for we too participate in the temple of the blue lotus of Himalaya, in Maitreya's place, and the place where all the brothers of the golden robe are. It is for the increase of illumination's flame that the sons and daughters of Tibet are persecuted, brutalized, and their community and their culture desecrated. When you understand really what's going on in Tibet, here from the very life of Sanat Kumara, from then until now, These people have held the flame for the planet. And of course, if the negative force upon this planet is going to attack the basic area of holding that flame, it's going to attack Tibet. And that's exactly what happened. The Chinese not only came in and crucified and tore down the temples and so on, they also brought in millions of people to take in place these tremendous spiritually oriented people. When you understand why and what's about, you understand what's going on. He said, "Blessed hearts, these are a life wave and an evolution sponsored by the Great White Brotherhood, as are you." We are also sponsored by the Great White Brotherhood. Thus, to add to the burden of El Morya in the plight of such as these, for they have carried the golden thread even continuously by reincarnation since the hour of Sanat Kumara. Let it be known then that you do hold the balance for them, and they have received a certain flame of joy. As you have celebrated my birth in the violet flame, so I have chosen to pass that flame by an arc to the very heart of those individuals whom Morya calls Chelas, to whom the adepts bow, bowing before the light of the heart and the perseverance. Pray for them, for in other times it is they who have held the balance for you, and there is an inner tie and an inner connection. Let it be the golden thread of contact, and let the golden lining be the interior garment that you wear, always remembering how my beloved Kuthumi, my Francis, does love you. The tangible sign of our love may be our messenger, but it also is your beating heart, your pulsating flame. For your flames do show the sign that the Master does tend his own, does tend the garden of the heart. I, Jesus, come again as the gardener in disguise. I come also tending the flowers of the Dhyana Buddhas. Oh, how in my journey to the East I did exalt in the path and the teachings of the heart. Blessed ones, I was taken up into etheric and physical retreats of the Great White Brotherhood and of unascended masters. And there I did receive, out of the heart of Maitreya, truly the instruction, the initiation, the soul testing, whereby I was indeed required to go and challenge the corrupt ones of the day, who hid the light of religion and did not give this blessed tie that binds the soul to hierarchy. Blessed ones, I must perform deeds for the masters that I found in the East. Thus they sent me into the lairs of the fallen ones, into the very dens of those who had all but put out the candle of self-knowledge unto those whom they considered beneath them, and not even worthy of having the impartation of the flame. In this day and hour, the Great White Brotherhood, even led by El Morya, the chief of the Darjeeling Council, is determined to give every opportunity to those who desire it and who will make use of that opportunity once again to re-establish the thread of contact with the hierarchy of light. And that's what we are doing right now. We are re-entering that hierarchy through song, through decree, and through our own feeling world, our own dedication. He said, thus, my beloved, not in mere instruction, not in the telling of the world did I realize the fullness of that Christ of Maitreya, with me. Did I bring to fruition that which was begun and continued through numerous previous incarnations. I must go forth in confrontation. I must challenge. I must meet and sense even the armor and the shield of the dark ones, and what it would take of my own sacred fire to part even the steel, as it were, of the mindset of their fortresses against that. Let me repeat. And what it would take of my own sacred fire to part the steel, as it were, of the mindset of their fortresses against which the little people could not prevail. He's talking about the tremendous power of the negative forces that can melt us almost. It can just come right in and almost crumble us. The normal little people, as he says, or the people with small consciousness, not far enough along yet to know what it was that just hit you. It's this intense negative pressures that go on, and we certainly see it in our society today, where the tremendous pressure of trying to hold back the thrust forward of those who are in authority. All kinds of lies and all kinds of untruth are sent out in order to control the forward thrust of the Spirit. But in this hour, it is they who are arrayed against the people of Maitreya, east and west. And thus this people must also know the initiations of the heart which I endured. For the heart is not strengthened except in action. Unless we are willing to walk in and work with it, you don't get that strength that's necessary unless you actually start praying and working with this business of attacking the evil where it is, where we begin to help people move out of that by praying for people, strengthening people, lifting them. Thus the time does come when one knows surely that these fallen ones will lay every trap, will rant and rave, and they shall rage, and they shall come. One will know it, and one will thrust forward the sacred fire, even to devour the hatred of the enemy before it descends. In other words, you know it's coming. Already they are announcing publicly there's going to be a war. Most of us don't understand why. Why a war? Everybody's working. Oh yeah, but there's going to be a war. They're already starting to get it out there to see whether they can create more havoc for those who have peace and joy in the light. Blessed ones, going within to commune with the Master, even in the secret chamber of the heart with Gautama, is for the understanding of what must be taken up in the outer, in the day-to-day existence. Thus, this training I received. And the knowledge of the 5 planes, of the 5 Buddhas, and the spheres surrounding the heart, made of me a devotee forever of the heart of Maitreya. Thus in the West, my heart is spoken of as the sacred heart. And yet what I have realized and brought forth in my heart is something which you can do also. Your heart is the sacred heart. For God has made only sacred hearts, no other. The threefold flame of your heart is that sacredness. To be so felt and so acknowledged requires but the intensification of its dimension of the blazing sun of God reality. It is only in measure of increments, whereby you think of my heart as the sacred heart and your own in a state of becoming. But I unveil to you the threefold flame of the heart of your holy Christ self. I unveil to you the threefold flame in the heart of your beloved I Am Presence. This is the sacred heart, and in divine reality, it is your own, your very own heart. Thus, the geometry of truth which Pallas Athena would bring to you is the knowledge of the precipitation of these things, that is, the threefold flame, from the higher to the lower octave, that in the mirror of the soul, the great God Self might appear smiling in the foreverness of your being. Now we're going for the sanctification of the heart, and we need to start changing our whole attitude about this. Instead of seeing only Jesus having the sacred heart and Mother Mary having the sacred heart, we need to begin to see our own heart as the sacred heart. O ye of the sacred heart, O ye our sacred hearts, to even move in the self-knowledge of the sacredness of life is to magnetize quickly and powerfully even the sacred heart just above, bringing it down from your holy Christ self, bringing it down into the reality of your own physical heart. Some have spoken to you of holiness, of the need for spirituality. I come with a simple lesson that you might increase both, and that is by the maintaining of the sense of the sacredness of your heart and the knowledge that when you so acknowledge that sacredness of your holy Christ self with you, the heart must expand. It must increase. Let me repeat that again. I come with a simple lesson that you might increase both, and that is by the maintaining of the sense of the sacredness of your heart and the knowledge that when you so acknowledge that sacredness of your holy Christ self with you, the heart must expand. It must increase. Your heart must become greater and more, having more light and more understanding, illumination. But you have to start by seeing its sacredness and what's happening within you. He said, I, Jesus, come then, speaking to you quietly as with the voice of the Buddha Gautama, as with the voice of Maitreya, I come. For I come within this hour rather than without. I come within in this hour rather than without. I speak to you from within your own heart, that you might know that I, Jesus, your brother, can and do choose to sanctify your hearts this night. And I ask you to seal that sanctification by your own affirmations. For I alone am not empowered by God to fully sanctify your heart. It is you who must participate with me in this empowerment. I give to you then, my beloved, the alpha thrust of the sanctification of the heart. I ask you to give me the omega return of the sanctification of the heart. And this return, beloved, is a daily and hourly ritual that occurs from within. And because it occurs, there is likewise the sanctification of the works of your hands. The moment you sanctify the heart, then you must see also that everything you touch has that vibration, that new vibration of the Christ. The walk with me and the heavenly host. Let me back up. And because it occurs, there is likewise the sanctification of the works of your hands. Nothing that you do day after day is not sanctified, if you really know. In my own background, I started out with beginning to be and helping other people understand that everything about you is vibration. You touch something and you walk off, but you leave a vibration. That's what a dog looks at. That's what a dog works with. He smells the vibration. He can follow you. So the moment you touch something and walk off, if I would come up and put my hand there, I can read your life because you've left your vibration there. When you understand this, you begin to understand what he's saying, that when you sanctify the heart, then everything that you touch is also sanctified, also changing the frequency of the energy, raising that energy up. Your walk with me and with the heavenly host. There is a consecration in ritual, in the rhythm of life, whereby all that you do is sanctified because it comes from your heart, which you and I have so sanctified. So we begin to see ourselves in a different manner, not just as a physical being walking through life, plugging away, but rather we begin to see that everything we touch, everything we see, everything we recognize within ourselves is changed. And the scientists are saying this now, that even to see something, you change its form. So as we begin to see this, we begin to see how we bless everything with our presence. Everywhere we go, everywhere we walk, everywhere we touch, everywhere we think and talk, we are changing the environment. We are changing the frequency. We are sanctifying it. He said, my power and wisdom and love to sanctify also comes from the works that the Father Maitreya, Gautama, and I have worked together in my life on earth and beyond. The same power, wisdom, and love is yours, whereby to sanctify the heart as the instrument of my work and the work of Maitreya and Gautama and Sanat Kumara. Through the hierarchical chain of being of this order of the second ray, know then that you touch the heart of our Father in heaven, even as the Divine Mother ensouling the earth does also reinforce your sanctification of the heart. Blessed ones, you are unique in that many do not have a labor that is sacred. Now, that is again a point of awareness, consciousness. You have the guy who gets up every day, plods to work, can't stand the work, but he doesn't have any training for anything else, and so he keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. That's not a sacred labor. Everything you do becomes a sacred labor as you bless, as you lift, as you share in teaching and so on. You are unique in that we each know that we have a pattern, a path already ordained for us. And that's why we are here. That's why we do our decrees. That's why we are working constantly in raising up not only ourselves, but the world in which we live. Your labor, being sacred in the furtherance of the teachings of the ascended masters, your avocation of discipleship does therefore enable you to see quite easily that the works of your hands do beget the holiness unto the Lord, unto millions. Again, a state of consciousness. Again, an awareness that everything you do, because you are the Christ in manifestation, everything you do changes the frequency around you. And if you project it, can change the frequency around the world. It's a matter of changing our frequencies, our understanding, our illumination, to really begin to, instead of just taking everything in, we begin to push it out and do things with it. Our avocation. Avocation. I like that word that he uses. He said, therefore, from you, to whom I have given this great opportunity to bear the teachings to the world, I do expect much. I do expect then that you shall entertain always the holiness of your physical and mental labors, of all that you do. Again, it means changing our point of reference, changing our reason for being, changing our goals and where we're going in this lifetime. And let the world know that aura of holiness, not by word. Don't go out and broadcast, look how holy I am. I saw this in a way which was so astounding. I was in Russia, and I went to one of their great cathedrals, and I watched what happens. There was a priest who was doing the work. And then there was this other man that came in. I guess he was the archbishop or something. But he just walked around and looked at the people. He didn't care what was going on. He was just showing himself off. And I thought, why? Why would a man do that? Interrupting what was going on in the Mass. Totally interrupting that because he wanted to show people who he was. This is what we're talking about. And let the world know that aura of holiness, not by word, but by the sense of reverence for the flame within the heart of all whom you meet. So when you meet people, do you bless them? Do you understand that when you shake a hand, you have the opportunity of either taking in their problems or blessing them with energy that changes their whole life? Just to shake a hand of a person filled with the Spirit makes you feel tremendously powerful yourself. This is what he's talking about. He said, they will sense that reverence when you speak, the form of your address and communication, and caring and concern for physical completion of service. It's the tone of your being. You don't have to say, hey folks, I am with the teachings of the ascended masters. Yes, I heard someone say, don't tell me what you believe. Let me watch you for 2 weeks, and I'll tell you what you believe. And this is the kind of thing that he's talking about. He said, let the golden halo of each one shine brightly. Let the sweetness of the inner walk with God, let your communion with me in the 8th ray chakra, as with Gautama and Maitreya there, be upon you as a holy oil and a radiance whereby you sense that the outer service is an extension of the inner temple work, the inner temple meditation, contemplation, garnering the light. For it is also, beloved, in the secret chamber of the heart that you affirm the word, and wax strong in the power of the spoken word. The inner temple work for the establishment of these spheres is thine own now. We must take the responsibility. People are still waiting for Jesus to do it all for them. I know I was raised with that. You accept Jesus Christ as your personal Savior, and he'll take care of everything. You don't have to worry from there on. Which is not true. You must become that Christ. He said, and as you are taken to the etheric retreats of the brotherhood, you will have passed through the steps of the 7 rays. Do enter then the inner court, while new students, newly entering, come newly out of the physical body to the etheric while they sleep at night, do take the very first steps of the 7 rays. Thus, there is the inner court. Knock. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. The knocking, beloved, is what you do each day to prove to the hierarch of the ray that you are indeed skipping no steps, seeking no side doors or byways, that you are determined to keep the flame of each ray each day of the week and in the fortnight you spend at those retreats of the Johans. There, beloved, as you pass beyond the outer coloration of the ray, entering the chamber that is central in these retreats, you then come into the unity and the oneness of the white light. And this white light is the sphere of transition to the 5 secret rays. In the unity of the 7, then, you come into the Holy Spirit. And in the Holy Spirit, that is the white fire, you seek and find the enlightenment of the Trinity. That enlightenment, as the illumination flame of the 2nd ray, becomes the principal and central flame of your altar as you are communing for the power, wisdom, and love, for the initiation and the attainment of the 5 secret rays. Thus, beloved, as you read of my journeys to the east, the chronicles thereof, you will understand that that which was recorded was that which was seen by men, that which was known by those devotees where I did take my rest and abide for lengths of time to study their ways, their scriptures, their language, and their needs and their hearts. Blessed ones, if one spends 17 years of one's life, all of one's nights out of the body studying in the temples of the Brotherhood in the Himalayas, I can assure you that much learning and soul testing and sanctification does accrue to the life stream. And inasmuch as I have been in the continuity of purpose within those retreats for many thousands of years, I was able to bring back the most precious gift of all to the West, beloved, and yet I was allowed to bear it only as far as Palestine for that particular mission of 3 years. It is the flame of Maitreya that I bore, the actual flame, beloved. This I carried in my heart, and this to me was the personification of the Father. Think about this now. This is going to be applying to you. He carried in his heart the personification of the Father, for the concept of Father and Guru are one. Now you heard the scripture when he said, I and my Father are one. Think about, is Moria your Guru? Can you say, I and Moria are one? Are your thoughts Moria's thoughts? Are your disciplines Moria's disciplines? For Moria reflects Maitreya. He reflects Jesus the Christ. But Jesus the Christ reflected Moria. You begin to see how it is not Moria, it is not you, but it's Moria speaking through you when you are really working. There are those who are waiting for Moria's return. What they don't understand is that Moria has already Maitreya has already returned. He returned in Jesus Christ when Jesus returned, the second coming. Maitreya has already come. And this is what he's saying here. For the concept of Father and Guru are one. Thus, you understand, I and my Father are one. I and my Guru are one. And it is so this day, beloved. Thus it did remain for my disciples and others to bring that flame of Maitreya to the West. And you have followed our messengers to this place prepared for the flame of Maitreya. So we begin to understand a little bit more who we are. We say, well, I am the Father, a God in manifestation. That's right. But Moria was the Father, a God in manifestation. And Jesus picked up Moria's flame. And he was Moria. Maitreya. I keep saying Moria, don't I? Sorry. Jesus picked up Maitreya's flame. Moria picked up Jesus' flame. You and I pick up the flame of Maitreya through all of these people. I become Maitreya when I understand what Jesus was talking about. I and my Father are one. Of course, he says, I had many journeys beyond the hour recognized as the resurrection and the life. I did appear here and there around the world to peoples that were waiting for the coming sign of the avatars of Pisces. And I understand that people have found out that in the background of the Indians in North America, they have a tradition that Jesus appeared here at such and such a time after his ascension. Well, he didn't really ascend all the way out. He was in India, in northern India. You can go there now and find people who feel that he was part of their family. You find it in other indigenous peoples around the earth where Jesus appeared and taught and worked with them. He said, "Blessed ones, the establishment of the mystery school, therefore, at this retreat has been a profound completion and joy to my heart." This is Jesus speaking. "And to see how you have gathered from the ancient times, whether you knew me in my life in Palestine or in previous incarnations. You have followed my lead, my presence, though at times you have not seen me, nor even known if the guidance was mine. Yet it was." We come so far west, therefore, beloved, that west becomes east again. And in the great gathering of those from all corners of the earth, so the prophecy is also fulfilled of the coming of Maitreya to all people. Each and every heart representing the nations and the peoples of the planet, who then does take up the path of the ascended masters, which is Maitreya's way, does therefore take into the karmic evolution that enlightenment. Maitreya has come. He's come through Jesus, and through Jesus we take the Maitreya's flame unto the world. Remember then that you have been taught to call for the cutting free of all those who have come down the ancestral tree of your background, and to send the call into the very heart of those areas of the world that mark the point of your origin. For there, that is where you must also send the light and the teachings by dynamic decrees, first and foremost, and if possible, by written and the spoken word. Thus, it is an hour of fulfillment for us, for Maitreya, and for you. As Saint Germain has emphasized the meditation upon the heart, the expansion of the heart, so it is leading to this moment, beloved, when I must tell you that the initiation of the Sacred Heart is yours to claim. You must confirm and ratify whatever heaven does give to you. You must sanctify. This then is the step required, as it was required of me. It is good that you should compare yourselves to me as brother and friend, and not place so much distance between us in the sense that I am perfected and you are not. Listen to this one. Let me repeat that. It is good that you should compare yourself to me as brother and friend, and not place so much distance between us in the sense that I am perfected and you are not. Jesus was born 2,000 years ago. We celebrate his birth, but we have to go beyond that. We have to take the baby out of the manger and become the adult Christ of God. You must recognize that it is the quality of the inner man of the heart. It is the quality of the soul and the spirit, and then the determination to bring all these things to fruition in the physical octave that is the making of a Christed one. I desire you to be wed to Christ's truth this night, and to receive Pallas Athena as my representative and spokesman to you for a time. For her momentum in truth will cause you to desire truth above all else, all compromise, all gray areas, all hidden dishonesties with self and others. Pallas Athena, boldly anchoring the light of truth within you to amplify, will bring to you the awareness of the precipitation of the emerald ray of the divine image of the all-seeing eye of God. Pallas Athena will teach you the precipitation of that cosmic cube, will enable you to be precise in your building and your preparedness in all things that must be completed as you complete the balancing of your physical karma. So long as you retain physical karma, beloved, and physical ties, the law may require you to reincarnate. But if you fulfill the mandate of the law in the physical octave, the astral plane, and the mental, you will find that there will be less cause for you to descend into the realms of density. Blessed ones, I speak to you as a keeper of the flame. I speak to you of a I speak to you of a keeper of the flame who did pass from the screen of life this Christmas morning. The circumstances surrounding this passing were due to an extreme out of alignment state. Thus, this individual, having not taken seriously the path of keeping the flame, had not garnered the light of or the necessary self-discipline to keep out of harm's way. Thus, it was entirely his fault of this individual of life that was taken so suddenly from among us. And let me read about his life, what happened, and so on. He said at 4:30 a.m. Christmas morning, a 26-year-old keeper of the flame, he was on lesson 7, who had been drinking on Christmas Eve, passed from the screen of life when his car skid out of control and overturned. He was on his way to get chicken with a companion when he veered off the roadway. He was pronounced dead at the scene of the accident. His companion was injured but reported in satisfactory condition. According to police, alcohol was a factor, but it was not determined if he was legally intoxicated. On Christmas Eve, the keeper reportedly announced he was taking down his altar and wasn't going to decree anymore. He and several friends went to a bar and returned home after midnight. When he and his friend left to get some chicken, the victim told another who had wanted to go along, "This ride isn't for you." When the messenger heard of the accident on Christmas morning and offered invocations on his behalf, he was still at the scene of the accident, disoriented, unaware that the crystal cord was broken and his opportunity for incarnation in this round had been terminated tragically by his own actions. Only 12 hours earlier, the messenger had written in her December 24th letter to Keepers of the Flame, Lesson 8 and above, in good standing, as I offer prayers for those who pass from the screen of life each week, whether they are of our community or of the world body, I see clearly how persistent and relentless use of the violet flame has saved any number of souls from the necessary tarrying in the astral plane or purgatory or worse, to balance their karma made at the vibratory level while on earth. Those who have not received this gift of Saint Germain's miracle pouch, or those who have it and do not hurl it into the earth and into their electronic belts, are the very ones who have no wind in their sails to buoy them up into the etheric octaves and the retreats of the Great White Brotherhood when their hour of transition comes. So he continues. Though the call was made at this altar to the legions of Archangel Michael and Astraea by the messenger for this individual to be taken to his lawful place in the octaves, that one could not rise above the level of purgatory, which is the third level down. You have 33 levels up and 33 levels down. And the further down you go, the more dark it is, until at the 33rd level you are waiting for your final pass, and you will be taken out of consciousness totally. So he was at the 3rd level down, for want of momentum in light, for utter compromise of truth in many lifetimes, and a failure to take seriously the meaning of the pledge to be a keeper of the flame. Thus, by the ultimate compromise, one may lose one's opportunity to be in this plane. By not availing oneself of the path of discipline, of discipleship, and the decrees offered, one may not even be able to navigate out of the place where accident or sudden circumstance may take one from the screen of life. Thus, as the tree falls, so shall it be. And as this one passed, so he was. At that moment, the messenger began her invocation. Thus the angel of God did pronounce that this one could rise no higher than the 3rd level. Let it be understood, beloved, that among this community it is often the case that when one speaks of one as a keeper of the flame, it does immediately connote someone who is a devotee, someone special. You, if you are a keeper and you are working your life around this, you are someone special. And you need to see this. You are not a sinner. You are a Christed one, or working to become that Christed one. Indeed, it should be, but unfortunately it is not always. Thus, merely being a keeper of the flame, beloved, does not guarantee salvation, even as membership in a Christian church or responding to the altar call to be saved likewise guarantees nothing, nor do those who wear the cloth and call themselves ministers have any prior claim upon heaven. By words and acts and deeds alone, by initiation under the hierarchy of light, is there won any victory at all. And this we have to understand. This man was a keeper, but he was not a keeper. His name was on the roll, but he did not live it, did not feel it. He was going to take down his altar, wasn't going to decree anymore. He just walked into the arms of the force. Those who do not then acknowledge the Christ of me as the Christ of Maitreya, those who do not then acknowledge the Christ of me as the Christ of Maitreya, may not receive the kingdom of God. For it is the chain of hierarchy, and not an isolated favorite son that conforms to a fabricated orthodoxy that can win the victory for the individual. Just as the denial of my mother, Mary, is the denial of my own seed and incarnation through her, so, beloved, to think that flesh and blood can reveal that Christ or be that Christ is an error that does not convey salvation. We need to remember this. We need to apply it. May you know then, beloved, that a mere title, an acceptance, or a sense of long affiliation with this movement will not necessarily afford the individual the momentum or the wings of light to be at the right place in the time of transition. It doesn't make any difference if you've been in this organization or this momentum for a long time. That's not what counts here. What counts here is what your vibration is. And that vibration is totally created by your discipline, your oneness. You may wonder that I should deliver this message at Christmas. that it is at this hour of the year when cycles turn and that there is a harvest of souls. And you can note this in the events that occur in the winter, as each year there are a certain number of souls who take their leave from this octave, for their opportunity with the conclusion of the year does run out. It could be yours, it could be mine, our time. Every man has a time to go. So you don't have to be sick to go. You can be very, very sick and not go. Every man has his time of transition. It can be extended if your life is really doing a lot for a lot of people. You can have an added amount added onto it. But other than that, when your time is here, your time is here. And sometimes we are surprised. Here's a person who's not ill, he's strong, he does everything like so, all at once he's gone. And it shows that life is a mystery. Life is not yours to claim, but yours to live and be. Happy are ye then, who have tarried in the God flame, in the communion, in the oneness of our fellowship. May you understand then that an individual's demise by self-abuse is preordained by the individual. And by this individual's neglect of the law and even the teaching itself is not a single, by this individual's neglect of the law and even the teaching itself is not a single ascended master of the cosmic law could intercede. In other words, his life made it impossible for someone to come and assist him. An angel, a master, and so on. Master Moria has saved many people's lives. Angels, your seraphim, have saved many, many people's lives. But if your vibration is so far out from them, they cannot do anything to help you. Blessed ones, this is a measure of the great law that must be told. And it is a comfort to all. For you see, beloved, inherent in the passage of the possibility, inherent is the message of the possibility of failure, is the message of the possibility of victory. Just as much as you could fail, you can also have that victory. It is possible to fail a test, then it is also possible to pass a test. And it can be known by given acts that these acts had not been taken, had these acts been not taken and other positive momentums built, that by the individual's own word and own work his salvation could have been attained. If he would have done his work, spiritual work, first of all, he wouldn't have been drinking. Second of all, he wouldn't have been out in the middle of the night like this. And third, he would have been in a completely different frame of reference where an angel could have stepped in and helped him. Thus, you must understand and no longer leave as a gray area, a nebulous area, the notion that another, whether myself, the messenger, or any angel in heaven, or any friend upon earth, can guarantee for you your individual, hard-won, gracious victory in the light. No one can guarantee that but you. You're the only one that can decide that I'm going to pay the price and do what I have to do in order to have that high frequency, that Christed victory in life. Let the full weight of the recognition of the God flame be upon you. Let the full weight of the sacred heart above you and the masterful presence of life, your own I am presence, who is your true self, come upon you in this hour as we seal the flame of Christmas. And as we seal it in your heart, may you know that giving birth to the man-child where you are and bringing that man-child to the full godhood and stature of being ordained by the Father, Mother, God is your calling, which is possible, which is preordained, but which you yourself must ratify. And if you do not, beloved, there can be no intercession of another doing it for you. I give you this teaching once again by way of exposing to you the lie that has crept into my church, which is no longer my church, therefore. I give you this teaching that you might leap with the joy of victory, to know that as the victory is yours to claim, it can be done. You can give birth to the divine man-child because God has empowered you to do so. By the sanctification of the heart, God has sent you to do it, to ordain you to do it, and he has not sent me to do it for you in your stead, nor any other master or friend. But you, beloved, contain in your being, as I did and as I do, all of the necessary ingredients to achieve the victory. I speak to you as I speak to you. My angels of golden illumination's flame are peeling from you centuries of ignorance and of ignoring that inner law of being. The lie has saturated the lower ethers of the planet, and somehow, something, someone, some institution, some government outside of yourself will supply percentages of your identity, your life, your happiness, your needs. See how subtle is the lie. Because, beloved, it has invaded the plane of the 5 secret rays. This I tell you, beloved, so that you will understand what must be consumed, what must be burned off before the fullness of the mighty cosmos' secret rays can manifest surrounding your heart. But, beloved, those secret rays do contain the power to consume all unlike themselves. Thus rejoice that you have the call to mighty cosmos' secret rays. And we do have that call. It is 0.03 in your decree book. You need to do this in order to begin to work as he's saying. I open another door of another chamber. And in this chamber, beloved, which is the grand hall, there is one in this hour who does take his ascension. This life stream, beloved, knew the walk with God through the keepers of the flame fraternity. This life stream, beloved, in this hour and in this moment is entering the ceremony of the ascension. Serapis Bey, Saint Germain, and Lanello are present. And as we take our leave of you, we shall also be present. Blessed ones, one is taken in the victory of the ascension, and another is left in purgatory, where he shall experience his own sowings and come to grips with his own karma and receive the instruction that in so facing that karma and that level of the astral plane, in the flame of overcoming, he too may transcend octaves and rise, but not shortly, beloved, for this one has squandered the light of the threefold flame long ago. Therefore, 2 scenes, each illustrative of choices made by the individual and none others. In each case, beings of light and darkness assailed, supported, entered the life of the individual. In one instance, the individual did follow the lead of the light in obedient love and Christ's truth and illumination. In the other, by pride and rebellion, that one did follow and agree with the condemnation of the light and the light bearers over many centuries. The outcome can be foreknown, of your daily choices. You have but to look at them and to know that God has allowed a place to be prepared for every life stream according to his choices. Therefore, in the astral plane are many compartments and gradations, 33 levels down. You can go to any of them depending on how evil your thoughts are. Moving from the physical to greater and greater darkness in the depths of the consciousness of the dark ones. So El Moria, the wise man, does say, as you live, so you shall die. May you take this wisdom and understand that as you are in this life, so you shall be in the next. And the guarantee of your victory is you, beloved. You sanctified in all planes of being. Let the victory path be begun by you this night in earnest by your consideration of my word for you, for your own sanctification of the heart. And it doth not yet appear what you shall be, but you know that when your holy Christ self shall appear, you shall be like him, for you shall see him as he is, reflected in the mirror of your soul. I am and I remain Jesus, your brother, with you always when you call to me and when you maintain my vibration, which is the vibration of Maitreya, in a holy, holy night to all. Beloved Jesus, thank you. Thank you for this total summary of what Christmas is all about. A total summary so that we can apply it to ourselves and gain our own victory of the ascension. Thank you so much, my beloved Lord and Master, Jesus.